One time I asked my pastor, I always had this question in my head, and I asked him, if God created us, then who created God? I didn't get an answer. He basically told me we shouldn't ask questions like those. And I was confused. I was like, why shouldn't I ask a question like that? He never gave me a real explanation. He just told me to follow the religious path and to not ask questions like that. And then young as a young kid, when you don't get an answer, a reasonable answer to a question, you kind of and you're forced to just abide by one religion. You you become a little hesitant of the value that the religion sets for you. You know, you you always have this question inside of you, but maybe you're afraid to ask that. And I've seen that in many religious beliefs as well. Many people don't really ask because maybe they're afraid, or maybe they don't want to know, or maybe it's just, I guess, some things we just can't comprehend. And I think that's now why people are have different thoughts. You know, most religious people have this way of thinking. Maybe this is the way it has to go, and this is how the way it has to be, or else you'll go to hell, or something of that nature. At least the ones that I've seen, and it's come to the point, to the extent where if somebody does not follow the same religion as you have to X them out of your life. You have to not communicate with that person, not do anything social with that person. And this has happened in our life. My friend, he has become more religious now, and my other friend was holding an engagement party, and my friend did not come because it was Sabbath, the holy day. And I understand that God told people that the seventh day is the day of God, the way you have to worship, you have to give to God, and I understand that. But in this scenario, when your friend was having an engagement party, assuming that's one day, that only happens once a lifetime, at least with one person, yeah. But so to miss a special event of that nature, uh, because you have church duties, but it wasn't even a huge holiday. It was just a typical Sabbath. Not to devalue it or anything when I say typical. Please don't take it wrong. What I was trying to say is God would understand that if you want to miss that day and you want to go to the engagement party, people are understanding. So what makes you think that God is not understanding? If you, if let's say for example you see a poor person committing something that is not moral, let's say somebody's hungry and they go to a store and they take food because they are hungry, you look at that person not as a criminal, but maybe you're more understanding to their situation. You can see why they have done it, and maybe you feel a little sympathy for them, or maybe you won't treat them as. So it's, at least most human beings would be like that. And if we are understanding to that extent, what makes you think that God is not understanding? He understands that if your friend, your loved ones, have something important in their life, and you want to be, and they expecting you to be present, God does not mind if you took that day off and went to your friend's engagement party, or went to your friend's birthday, or something of that nature. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. God is understanding. I'm not saying that you should break rules all the time or this or that, but if you're not communicating with someone because they don't believe in the same values that you do, then that's not what God wants. God does not want us to do that. God wants us to love each other, even if we have different beliefs, different systems, different color, different this. He still wants us to love each other. You should treat people the same everywhere, every place. It doesn't matter. That's what God wants. So what I hate when is one religion competes with another religion. One sect thinks they're better than us. Like, you're all the same. Church compete like they're sports teams. Are you kidding me? Oh, this one but build a bigger church, so now we gotta build a bigger church. For what? For what? What are you gonna do with it? I understand it's the place of worship, but if there's a person out there that is homeless guy out there in the streets, he ain't got no sheets, but we're building a bigger and bigger church, and the church is empty during the daytime because nobody's even in there. Come on, man. Let's have some common sense. I understand that the church does good things. I understand that, but if there's a person out there suffering, but you're spending the money on building a bigger church when you already have a sufficient church, that's what I meant to say, then that's not what God wants you to do. Because that person out there is suffering, but you're building a bigger and nicer church. Oh, with 10 microphones instead of 7, with a bigger speaker than. For what? And that's what I hate about sometimes organized religion, man. I I don't agree with certain things that they do. They just rule based. It has to be this or it's not this. It's black and white. There's some churches that are a little flexible. No, I admire those. But what I think now is that I guess it's not religion. It's just God is just a relationship between you and the higher being. The higher being, whatever it is for you. It might be God, Allah, your higher self, universe, whatever it is, whatever you believe. So don't listen to others how you should act. I mean, if we shouldn't be so judgmental and so rule based that we just have to think in one way. God is understanding. God is loving. So treat each other right. That is all I want to say. Have a good one.